There it is. It always drops super, super abruptly. Everybody, welcome in. We are jumping on for episode 71 of the SquadCast. You'll notice I'm beside our Twitter page. No Max tonight. Max said, I got homework and stuff to do. And I said, fine, Max. You know what? I'll bring in some guests. And we got a big one for you tonight. It is the, I don't have the graphic with me here, but it is the TikTok NHL takeover tonight. And we're bringing in 4 people to represent each division across the NHL. So if you want some questions, if you have some questions, fire them up because we got people from each division, the Pacific, all the way to the Metro, and we're going to be bringing them in here in just a second. But before we do that, thanks for hanging out. We got to thank our sponsors. Of course, Original 16, Great Western Brewery. This will be cracked later tonight. Right away, though, because it is delicious. Our friends over at HoopLife Basketball, our friends over at RBI Baseball here in Regina, and, of course, the granddaddy of them all, IKS Media and Technology. Shout out to everybody over there doing big things at IKS Media. So stay tuned for that. But I don't think we should make these guests wait any longer because these people have other places to be and things to do. And they're here hanging out with us tonight. And we're going to start. I got to bring up the script here because I did little write-ups for all these people. So I just have to make sure I say this right. Representing the Pacific Division. She goes by the moniker SweetAnnieOD, but she's been known to add a little spice to any conversation when it comes to the MLB, the NHL, the NFL, or tonight, the NHL. From the California Sun to the SquadCast, please welcome Annie. Oh, everybody's jumping in now. I was going to bring in you guys all separately. Here you are. I'm going to take you guys up because I want to give Annie her home room in the sun here.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Bye. Bye.
Annie, welcome in. How's it going?
It's going good, Clark. How about you? Long time no talk, except for in TikTok comments back and forth.
Well, why not? We have to do that all the time. But we're going to have some fun tonight, Annie. How's California? Just let me know because it was minus 31 here today. And I'm not pumped.
Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
No, it does. I was going to say minus 31 Fahrenheit would be absolutely miserable.
It's about the same.
Okay. No, it's not. But it was overcast here, but for the most part, generally beautiful. I mean, last week was absolutely incredible. Super Bowl weekend. It was 80s, sunny, not a cloud in the sky. We were all at the beach chilling. So can't complain. Life is good in Southern California.
Well, I dug myself out of a snowbank this morning, and that makes me feel way worse. And speaking of digging themselves out of snow, representing the Central Division, she just dug herself out of a forest in Minnesota to be here tonight, but she's an all-star any day of the week, a writer for NHL.com covering the Minnesota Wild, the queen of the Midwest, Jessi Pierce. Jessi Pierce.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, Annie, we finally get to meet. What's up? What's up, girl? How's it going?
I feel like something's starting here. This is good. Jessi, welcome to the show. How's everything going in Minnesota?
You know, it wasn't negative 31. That was last week. We were all negatives last week. We just got about 1.5 feet of snow today in one day. So things are glorious. You know, February in Minnesota is as miserable as ever. Whatever. It's cool, though. Minnesota's on the road. The Wild are on the road. And they're losing. So really, it's a terrible day, Clark. Thank you for
asking. And to Ottawa, of all teams. But who am I to speak? The Leafs just lost to Montreal yesterday. So it is what it is. We'll keep moving east because next up, representing the Metropolitan Division tonight, he calls himself a Penguins fan, but he lives in Florida and cheers for the Panthers. His name is ThatSolarBearFan, and that's an East Coast League team. And he owns a Danbury Trashers jersey. So this guy's literally all over the place. But I am pleased tonight to be represented by ThatSolarBearFan, John Hill. John, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing just good. I've got a couple alcoholic beverages in me, so let's see how this goes.
Okay, you're going to be joining me in the original 16 train later, are you?
Exactly.
All right, perfect.
Happy National Margarita Day, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't have any margaritas, so I'll have to crack open the beer and we'll get this thing going. But our final guest, and again, I have never had more than 4 people on this platform, so I don't know what's going to happen here, but let's try it out. Representing the Atlantic Division, he's one of the only Toronto Maple Leafs fans in the province of Quebec, and he attended last night's 5-2 loss to the Habs, and he has lived to tell the tale. With one of the largest followings on hockey TikTok, please welcome ThatLeafsFan, Giuseppe Oppedisano. Gio, what's going on, dude? Here we go. Here's 5 bucks.
Oh, nice.
Well, I was in a great mood until you brought up last night, so that's awesome. But hello.
We all had to live through it. You were just there. So
I was physically there, yes. The only reason I stayed past the second period was because it was my girlfriend's first Habs and Leafs game. If not, I would have been gone.
Such a good boyfriend.
Oh,
you're a champ.
All right, everybody. So here's how tonight's going to work. You all represent a division in the National Hockey League. As you all know, you're all probably geographically in the area of that division. So this should be good. We're going to start from the west. On the first question, we'll go to the east. So, John, you might as well strap in. You're going to be a while before you get to say anything. That's okay. That's okay. We're going to start with the first question of the night. And that question, of course, is the quick playoff outlook. So we're going to go division by division, and we're just going to get the quick, how it kind of sits today. You don't have to go super deep into everybody's season, but give me a look at your division. We can bring up the graphic too if you want me to. And Annie, we'll start with you. How's the Pacific looking right now?
The Pacific is, with the exception of the top two teams, it's kind of a jigsaw puzzle right now, as it's been for the most part this season. Obviously, you have your well-known. Do I need to turn my? I feel like there's an echo. Sorry. Do I need to turn my sound down?
Maybe. It sounded good to me.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, whatever. I'll keep going then. But I feel like everybody kind of knew who the front runners were going to be in the Pacific. Specifically the powerhouse that is Vegas. Obviously, you got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl out in Edmonton, but Calgary really making a run at this in the last, I feel like the last month or so, really just charging through up to the top of the Pacific. Obviously, a lot of surprises coming out of California, well, except for the nobodies up north, but we don't need to talk about that for now. Vancouver, honestly, a little surprising with some, obviously, Bruce Boudreau coming in, and fan favorite. Coaching fan.
Bruce, there it is.
Jessi. I was like, I don't think Jessi's making a very happy face right there, but going on that run that they did. And, with the Kraken, I know a lot of people picked the Kraken as possibly being a playoff team. I don't know why. I just from the expansion draft to some of the additions they made leading up to the season, I just didn't think they were meant for a Vegas style run. So typical expansion team needs to take some time to build an identity and really make a name for themselves in the league. But for the most part, for what everyone deems as the weakest division in the league, and that's probably arguably true, some solid teams and solid seasons so far. And hey, I would say one or two Stanley Cup contenders in there.
Yeah, especially with Jack Eichel coming back in Vegas. Vegas, you never know with them. And then if Edmonton just gets a dang goalie, who knows? Who knows?
That's going to be, I don't know, with how talented Connor McDavid and Leon, that pairing is, and just how offensively just dominant they are. Everybody knows in the playoffs, if you don't have a strong blue line, if you don't have a competent goalie, you're not going to get very far. So I'm rooting for him. You hate to see the best player in the world struggle and get frustrated with the team around them, but we'll see. Deadline less than a month away, so time to make some calls.
The Wild just lit up Mike Smith the other night too.
Yeah, wow.
Oof, it was
just pissed. Anytime Mike Smith gets lit up, and wings.
I was gonna say, speaking of competent goalies, let's go to Minnesota now. But we should say, speaking of lighting up the Oilers, let's go to Minnesota. Jessi, give us a quick look at the Central Division, if you don't mind.
A lot of it has shaken out like you'd expect. Colorado, obviously up top, Chicago, Arizona, rounding out the bottom. Minnesota, slightly surprising that they're doing as well as they have. I definitely picked them as a middle of the pack. The Central notoriously has been a division that's so close and so tight, and it's not quite that way this year. Minnesota and Colorado kind of running away with it. St. Louis creeping up there. I think Nashville, to me, kind of the biggest surprise. I thought they were going to be kind of duds this year. They've done really well. Dallas making kind of a late run as well. Winnipeg, I think they're just too old. Sorry. They're just struggling. Injuries are destroying them again. And Arizona and Chicago, just the dumpster fires out there in the Central. So no real surprises. Minnesota hasn't gotten a chance to face a lot of those Central divisions, a lot of those opponents obviously coming up in the second half. So that's when things are really going to get tested. And I'm excited to see some of those matchups against all those Central division opponents and rivals.
There we go. All right, we're moving slightly more east into the Eastern Conference now. Gio, give me your thoughts so far on the Atlantic Division. It seems like there's a top half and a bottom half. So let's hear what you got to say.
Perfect. We have the top 3 teams that are actually relevant in the top 7, and I can include Boston in there. I'll throw them in there. And then we have the 3 worst teams in the league in Montreal, Buffalo, and Boston. Detroit's kind of not Boston, sorry, Ottawa. Detroit's kind of there, relevant, but not very. So like it's kind of cool to see them, like, honestly, from the season they had last year, the fact that people are like saying like, look, when like you look at Detroit this year and you're kind of like, oh, okay.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? It's not like they're not making the playoffs, but it's like they're relevant, I guess. Like, I'll watch a game of theirs. Like, they're competitive. Ottawa, plagued with injuries, COVID. Their rebuild is most definitely not over. According to their GM, it was, but I disagree. Buffalo being Buffalo, are you surprised? Because I'm not.
Yeah.
Montreal.
Oh, man.
I mean, I know people are going to talk about last night, but that was probably going to be the highlight of the season. To be fair, they do have injuries all across. Their best player is out in Carey Price. Cole Caulfield hasn't been looking like he's going to pan out. Well, at the moment, at least. Just a lot of injuries for them. Petrie also not playing so great. Their captain out. So, I mean, but again, despite injuries, everyone has them. It's a sad excuse of a season for them, despite them destroying us yesterday. But we're moving on from that. Florida.
Yeah, and Columbus is beating the Leafs tonight 3-2 with 9 minutes left.
It's okay. It's okay. We don't. I know.
Super
I saw that
good
goal and
couple of days,
I shed a
boys.
tear. You know the emoji that's smiling with the tear coming down your face? That's what I
that's the one. That's the one.
Yes.
Just wanted to quickly point out is what I'm trying to say. The goal differential difference between, again, the top three and then everybody else in the division in the Atlantic is just ridiculous.
In the East, actually, for that matter.
Just in the East, in general. And let's move a little bit farther east. John, let's get you going on the Metropolitan Division. I'm going to say the full name. Go ahead.
So basically kind of rounded up the way that most people thought. We got Carolina in first place. I thought they kind of had an interesting offseason, especially with the offer sheet and everything.
Yes.
But it seems to have worked out well for them, and especially the signing. And I know this is going to hurt you too, but Freddie Anderson has been nothing but amazing in Carolina. Pittsburgh, I feel like, is a shock because to me, I kind of thought that Pittsburgh would kind of be on the outside looking in. Even though I'm a Penguins fan, I just kind of I keep thinking every year we're gonna fall. Like at some point it's gonna happen, but it hasn't happened yet. So thank God.
They keep finding gums in the cupboard somehow, John.
Yeah.
The Rangers just, I think they're going to be the kind of the dark horse. I know they're in 3 right now, but their goaltending with Igor Shesterkin has just been absolutely amazing. And that team is going to be something to be reckoned with for the next, 5 to 10 years. Washington is kind of, like I said, I think they're right with Pittsburgh. They're that team that it's kind of on their way out. This could be like their last legitimate shot at the cup. Maybe a few more years, and that's about it. And then the rest of the division kind of went the way we thought, except for the Islanders.
Right.
I've been saying for years, I thought the Islanders were going to fall off, and it never happened. And then this year, they just completely fell off the face of the earth. The Flyers, which makes my soul so happy, have had a 10-game and a 13-game losing streak. And the Devils have just been plagued with injuries. And CBJ, they've got to at some point stop this rebuilding and just take a shot at it.
Yeah. Well, they're beating the Leafs tonight, John. So
sorry.
Well, hands up from everybody here. Who had the New York Islanders in the playoffs before the season started?
I love them so much. Like that's my East Coast team. I love they're full of Minnesota guys,
That's true. That's fair. You didn't have them in the playoffs, John.
I thought that road trip at the beginning of the season was going to kill them.
And
look at you, Nostradamus over there telling the future. Jeez. We're going to move on now. And you might have already talked about this team, but we're going to go back to the West, Annie, and start with you again. Surprise team out of your division so far. Can be a good surprise, can be a bad surprise. Go ahead.
I mean, I love this question because I think the by and far answer in this division is my Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah.
You look at every single prediction, every analyst had the Ducks finishing bottom dumpster of the division. People saying tank for Shane Wright, all sorts of takes like that. And I honestly, after last season, was going into this season saying, listen, high excitement, hockey's back, I'm pumped. Low expectations. This is a rebuilding year. We still have our trash GM, Bob Murray, at the forefront, who doesn't like to make any moves for any big guys. So let's just see how the young guys do. We'll get excited. And lo and behold, look what's happening. Trevor Zegras is obviously taking the NHL by storm in the best way possible. Troy Terry, literally he's making just over $1.5 million this year and next year. Has to be the bargain of the league by and far. And Ryan Getzlaf, of course, playing like he's in his mid-20s yet again. And of course, my man John Gibson standing on his head night in and night out. If Connor McDavid was not non-existent, and I would honestly, if Gibby was putting up somewhat better numbers, I think he'd be in the MVP conversation, because by and far the Ducks would not have as many wins as they have without that man in net. But it's honestly,
They should trade him.
Absolutely not. Get out of here with that.
Yeah.
Get out of here with that.
I'll give you Cam Talbot
while
for
we're
him.
here, we just need to reaffirm, because I know we've got some Pittsburgh voices in here. Everyone's like, he wants to go home. He wants to go back to Pittsburgh. No, he does not. That was confirmed. He does not want to go back. He is bought in Anaheim, and he knows that Pittsburgh's on the outs. This is their last 1 or 2 shots. The Ducks are on the rise. He's a smart man. Almost knocked Gibby over, by the way. But
careful.
Honestly, just pleasant surprise being a Ducks fan and being local, being able to go to games, and hockey's fun again. It's awesome. And they could potentially be in that playoff picture. Right now, they've been struggling, honestly, since the early holiday break. The Ducks have really had some trouble finding their footing for the most part. But with the new GM, Pat Verbeek, at the forefront, there's going to be a lot of moves at the deadline I see coming. And I'll save the deadline talk. I know we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I mean, so far the rebuild looks like it's further along than we thought, and the Ducks could be back in the playoff mix sooner rather than later.
There you go. Jessi, I think you might have mentioned your surprise team as well in your first answer, but go ahead for the Central.
I did. I mean, I think it's got to be the Nashville Predators. John Hines has gotten this group completely bought in. I mean, last year it looked like, this was going to be it. Preds are going to have a down year, no question about it. And they have made a strong push. I mean, guys like Luke Cunnin, former Minnesota Wild guy, doing his thing. Mikhail Granlund having a great year too. Nick Cousins obviously had been doing really well. So they've been really my surprise pick. It's a team that actually handed Minnesota their first loss of the season, their first loss at home. They've got a great record at home, as those know who've seen the Wild. So I mean, Nashville plays hard. They're still playing tough checking. But I think John Hines really just started getting those guys believing, similar to what Bruce has done up in Vancouver. Gotta love Bruce. So that's my surprise team. My second would maybe be Minnesota, only because I do think they're doing so much better than I expected them to. I thought last year they certainly exceeded expectations. This year I was like, they're probably not going to do that again. And they have exceeded expectations. They're in the conversation as a fun offensive team, which is something that never goes along with Minnesota. You never say offense fun with the Minnesota Wild for years. So they've kind of changed that. But Nashville, probably my biggest surprise out of the Central this year.
Shout out Ryan Hartman for having a renaissance season. Gio, let's talk about the Atlantic. I feel like you talked about your answer a little bit too, but go ahead.
I'm not going to talk about the Habs.
Oh, okay.
No.
Really?
And the reason is I just don't think they were good, period. But I don't want to get into that because, anyways.
There's a bunch of angry
still hurts.
Yeah.
With
They were saying ole ole at the game yesterday. Anyways. Florida. They quietly built an absolute dynasty over the summer and no one paid attention at all. Maybe it's because they don't have a very active fan base, quote unquote, but my God, they have defense, they have offense, they got special teams, they got anything. List goes on. Nice
God.
jersey. I love that one way more than the current one. Bobrovsky revived out of nowhere. Finally making that $10 million contract, put to work. Can't really say much. I mean, something's got to happen to that team or the Leafs in Tampa ain't going nowhere past Florida. As much as I would love to see my Leafs finally win a round for the first time in my existence.
That's the sad part, guys, is that it's literally been, has it been in your your entire life? They've never
the minute I was conscious of hey, I'm a boy, hey, I live on Earth, Leafs never won again.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
I was physically here when they won 2004, but I didn't know what was going on.
Right. Yeah.
Fair.
There you go.
Yeah.
Leafs legend Mason Marchment is leading the Panthers to, and John, maybe you can touch on that later. But John, go ahead.
Solar Bears legend too. Solar Bears legend.
Solar Bears legend. There you go. Go ahead with the Metro. Who's your biggest surprise?
My biggest surprise is actually Philly. I've seen a lot of people like dark horsing them to make a good playoff run this year. And I don't know what happened. Carter Hart has just not really became the goalie they thought he was going to. And I just don't see the depth there. They've been riddled with COVID. They've had injuries. They don't seem like when I was a Penguins fan, when you play the Flyers, you get scared of them because of their arena, the way they play, everything else. The Flyers are almost becoming like the biggest, like, I don't even pushover. Is that the word in the league?
Yeah.
Like they're not the same team they used to be with like the Broad Street Bullies and teams like that. And I think it's them kind of pulling away from what their identity is. And I think it's costing them a lot and they're losing a lot of games right now.
And, it's funny you say that, John, because they had, like Gio was saying about the Panthers, like Philly, they decided to switch up a lot this offseason. They got Ristolainen. They went out and got Ryan Ellis. They traded Voracek for Atkinson. Like they did quite a bit, thinking that they could kind of refresh a little bit, and it just didn't work. It worked for the first 8 games, and then it all fell apart. Yeah, exactly. All right, we're going back to Annie. We're going MVP of your division. Now, Annie, I know that you're a Ducks fan, but you have to remember that the Oilers play in your division, and so do other teams. You can still say a Duck. You can still say a Duck. Go ahead. MVP of the division as a whole.
I mean, how are you going to say with Connor McDavid in the division? How can you even possibly say anybody else? So, Connor McDavid by and far the MVP.
I thought you were going to make a big push
division.
for Troy Terry or John Gibson.
I mean, here's the thing. Like when you're talking about the MVP of the division, and I'm stuck on whenever we're talking the MVP conversation, the definition is not just the best player, it's the most valuable player to their team. Their team would not be anywhere near where they are without this specific player. And for the Ducks, there's just a lot of guys that stepped up. And I think that's the coolest part about this season for them, that it's really been a group effort. But when you look at the Edmonton Oilers, it's Connor McDavid. That team would not be anything without that man. And we'll give Leon some credit in there too, but it's Connor McDavid.
There you go. All right, Jessi, from the Central. This one might be tough because I think there's several.
There's a few. Yeah, it is. I mean, I think I got to go Cale Makar. I absolutely adore him. I think he is just absolutely solid. He's the defenseman that everybody wants on their team because he can do it all. I mean, Kadri's up there as well. It's hard to go against Colorado. I mean, they're so dominant all in all. I mean, to Annie's point, though, you talk about a player that'll change everything for a team. It's biased, but Kirill Kaprizov is also that guy too. So it's, there's no doubt about it. Minnesota is never in a conversation without Kirill coming here last season, picking up the offense and getting guys like you mentioned, Ryan Hartman, to go out and just become a goal scorer all of a sudden. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal to witness just because he's like so down to earth. And I think even he's surprised at his goal production being on the top line with him and Zuki. So, but no, I'm going to say Cale Makar just because I think he's just an absolute game changer for anybody on the team. Love to watch him play. He night in and night out, just absolutely phenomenal. So he is my Central Division MVP.
Leading the NHL in goals by a defenseman.
Yeah,
as well, which is
kid's just ridiculous, right?
Yeah, he's a good player. Gio, what's going on with the Atlantic? Who you got? There's a few here too.
Jonathan Huberdeau, no question.
Nah, okay,
not a question. Unnoticed, underrated, 70 points, 1 away from McDavid and Draisaitl. Not a question. There's just not enough fans to make him talked about that much. Like if Jonathan Huberdeau was playing in a city like Toronto, Montreal, Boston, like this guy would have sculptures of himself outside. Like he's insane. Like 70 points. I haven't heard his name once. All I hear is Connor McDavid and Draisaitl and Matthews and McKinnon. It's like Jonathan Huberdeau, like
he's right there.
Disrespect on his name is it's no one's fault because like we just don't hear from Florida, even though they have like 75 points. This guy has like I think he has he already passed 50 assists, like 53.
He has more assists than most people have points.
He did that against the Minnesota Wild. He put up 3 assists. So in case you guys missed it.
He's absolutely like him and Barkov are my God, it's not fair. It's not fair, but yeah, no, look at that. Yeah, 53 assists plus 25.
So take away his goals, he'd be 14th in the league in points.
And on top of that, when he's on the ice, his team doesn't need to worry because he's not like 70 points -5. Like he's 70 points plus 25. That means like he's on the ice. Even if he's not getting points, you're not getting scored on. That's huge. He's got 20 power play points. That's big. You can expect a point every single game that he gets on the ice, maybe 2. So he deserves more love. I've been saying him and Barkov have been underrated, and I understand they're on the Panthers, but when is the league gonna realize like there's some serious players, even though the team itself is not wow, you know?
It might be this year. This might be that year. I heard somebody say a rematch of the 1996 Stanley Cup Final, Colorado, Florida. That could be a legitimate thing as the Leafs score and tie it up against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Gio, sorry for wrecking that for you because I think I'm ahead of you, but I'll let you watch it now.
What did you say?
Never mind. I didn't say anything.
Nothing.
You said 4-2?
Nope, I didn't say anything. John, let's go to the Metro. There you go. Let's go to the Metro. Who is your division MVP?
Can I cheat here and give it to 2 people? Because I really had a hard time describing or figuring this one out.
I'll allow it.
So I'm going to give it to Igor Shesterkin from the Rangers. And I'm going to give it to Tristan Jarry from the Pittsburgh Penguins.
There you go.
Because if Tristan Jarry isn't on the Penguins right now and with their god-awful defense, they're probably not even close to looking at a playoff spot. Igor Shesterkin, on the other hand, legit came out. Like I knew he was going to be a good goalie, but I didn't know he was going to be this good. He has like a .930 save percentage. He is literally carrying the Rangers and just making them the team that they are right now. And with a hot goalie in the playoffs, I mean, Gio mentioned it. Carey Price stood on his head. And if Igor Shesterkin can get to the same level during the playoffs, it's going to be hard for anyone to beat the Rangers.
There you go. And Tristan Jarry is a guy who I think you'd agree, John. There were some Penguins fans that didn't necessarily.
I was one of them. I was one of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you were on the bring Marc-Andre Fleury back train.
I was on like the bring John Gibson, bring Fleury back, whoever wanted to come here.
Clark.
Yes.
Tell me that goal stood.
It hasn't been decided yet, so I can't tell you either way.
Guys, I
thought they were challenging offside, but it turns out they were challenging a kick. And
no,
with the NHL,
they're challenging high stick. Oh,
they are. So it's 3 things they're challenging. Here we go. I'll tell you in like 2 seconds if you want me to.
Please do.
Pause the whole thing.
It
just freezes. Just cuts out. Nope, never mind.
Does the
there was a goal.
Okay, but now no more reactions, please.
Sorry, I'm a Leafs fan. I get excited when they score.
No, I know.
Sorry.
But like,
anyway,
react when you know what I mean?
Fair enough. I'll be nice. Moving on, we're gonna go to Coach of the Year. Now, this is maybe to do with some of the playoff talk we were talking about earlier, but in terms of Coach of the Year, Annie, we'll go back to you. Pacific Division representative.
For me, if we're just talking Pacific, it's got to be Daryl Sutter out of Calgary. I loved that pickup from the very beginning. It happened last season. I liked Daryl Sutter's system. It worked obviously very well in Los Angeles. He's got 2 Stanley Cups to his name for it. And even in the downward spiral, not downward spiral, I want to say, even in the latter part of his head coaching career out in LA, the Kings just played a really strong defensive team, just eliminating all those offensive opportunities. And the same's working in Calgary right now. The Flames are in the top 10 for goals for per game, and they have the lowest number for goals against per game. That's the way they're winning hockey games right now. And you just got to give a lot of credit there to Daryl Sutter. Plus, I mean, while he's not the most expressive guy, he's very likable. So I easily Coach of the Year for me. If the Kings somehow make a resurgence and just finish out the end of the season, just guns ablazing, I could see Todd McClellan also in that conversation. But for me right now, definitely Daryl Sutter.
So up in the prairies, because he's from Alberta, which is right next door to me, we call him the Jolly Rancher because he grew up on a farm. He owns a farm and he's just jolly all the time, right? He's so happy all the time.
I still remember the days on like hockey Twitter and all the hockey memes where they put his face next to the Muppet, which is the Muppet that looks like the bald eagle.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's good. That's
a throwback. I know.
Yes.
Back in the days where like, you know, when that picture of Dustin Brown went viral with the water bottle going out the wrong way.
Wrong way. Oh, man. That's hilarious. Jessi, we'll move on to you. Central Division Coach of the Year?
You know what? I think I got to go Dean Evson, and that's not even plain biased. I mean, he had that interim tag taken off. Speaking of lookalikes, he looks like Creed from The Office. He admits it. He finally has admitted that officially. Looks identical, right?
I'll never unsee it.
Identical.
Done now.
Hold on, I got to get a picture of him. You can keep talking. I'm going to get a picture.
No,
of him.
I mean, I think he just really has these guys playing together, and that might sound so cliche to everybody else. But for the past couple seasons, Minnesota, that locker room was very tense, and you could just sense that this wasn't a team that had gelled. And right now, this team plays together. They're deep. They've got guys stepping up for each other, and they're having fun, which is something, again, that you just hadn't seen out of Minnesota for so long. And I think that translates to the success. And it's kind of cool. Dean Evson, actually, he had his contract extend, right? Look at that. Yeah. Look at that. What a beauty.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Pretty good.
So good. But yeah, Dean, side note, we asked him about that one time when he was on our podcast. I was like, so do you know you look like him? He's like, yeah, he seems like a fun guy. And I was like, yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, it's cool. Dean had actually had his contract extended. He did not want that announced until the rest of his assistants were also signed on and extended. So, I mean, he takes that teamwork value really to heart. He was great in the AHL. He's gotten players like Kevin Fiala going again, Matt Boldy coming in and just dominating. So I think Dean Evson has to be it because everybody else is kind of doing what they would expect to with their team. Jared Bednar, he's got Colorado to work with, right? Nobody else is really surprising. So, I mean, I think what Dean's done in Minnesota this year, and which started last year, has been MVP worthy.
That's fair. And shout out to John Hines too. You mentioned it earlier, but Nashville, like you said, sometimes I find that sometimes they give the coach of the year to a team that shouldn't be good, but is. And Nashville kind of seems like they fit that mold a little bit. So, but let's move to the Atlantic. Gio, what do you think about this one? Coach of the year.
It was Joel Quenneville till it wasn't.
Hey, give Bruno some love though. He's the best.
No, but I mean, again, kind of like we said with Jared Bednar, like you got the Panthers. I mean, I feel like you don't even need a coach behind that bench. Like they literally didn't have a coach and still won the game, like that game. I'm stuck between Bruce Cassidy and Jeff Blashill, surprisingly, and not for any reason of Detroit's making the playoffs, but Detroit is like, we're talking about a team who was like not competitive last year. Like they were an AHL team at best. Like if you can either sit down and stare at the wall or watch the Detroit Red Wings play, like you were going to stare at the wall kind of thing. And now it's like, okay, I'll watch them. All right. They got some good rookies in there. They're working hard. There's some cool, like you got Tyler Bertuzzi, who's really working there. You got Larkin, who's like putting the team on his shoulders. You got the Cider. I forget the other name. There's Cedar and someone else.
Lucas Raymond.
Yep.
Lucas Raymond. Yeah, that's it. Like it's not exactly, he's not going to win Coach of the Year, obviously, but like I would say it would be either Blashill for the reason of like he's making his team compete when they really shouldn't. And I think the effects of what he's doing this year is going to show in the coming years of like, if they're going to try now and be relevant, like wait till the players grow up and then they're going to be serious. If not, I got to go Bruce Cassidy because I don't know how the Bruins are still relevant, quite frankly, with the team they have. No idea. Don't get it, but they are all the time. They're kind of like the Patriots.
Like Bergeron for literally putting that team on his back.
The he's like a year away from a wheelchair, but he's still like cracking top 20 in the NHL every season. And what's crazy though,
he's had 2 punctured lungs since 2014, yet he's still going strong.
But the craziest thing is that they're exactly like the Patriots. Oh, they're gonna be eliminated. Wins the Super Bowl. Oh, they're not gonna make the playoffs. Super Bowl. Oh, they're terrible. Conference final. Okay, like fine, like whatever. Like when are you gonna suck? Like we're over it. Moving on. They've been relevant since like 2011 and haven't had maybe 1, 2. And I hate them. I'm the Leafs fan. Like they've caused me so much internal brain damage. But they're there and they're relevant still with the same team they've had for many years. So stop. No.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah, you did.
Nope.
Yeah.
I like those answers.
You're trying to hide.
I'm really trying to hide it.
They lost 4-3, didn't they?
Anyways, Let's move on. John, who do you got for the Metro as we watch Gio slowly collapse in the bottom left corner here?
He looks like he's having like a Steve Dangle like breakdown.
Speaking of which, happy Dave Ayers anniversary to you both.
Oh, I knew this was coming.
Wow.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Well, speaking of David Ayers, I'm actually going to go with Rob Brindamore.
Yes.
Taking this Carolina Hurricanes team, who a lot of people like during the offseason, like I said earlier, just weren't sure on them. Like they weren't sure with the offer sheet. They weren't sure with just every single move they made, but they're absolutely running away with the Metro Division.
Yeah.
They're up by 4 points right now, and they've still got 2 games at hand on the next team. So, I mean, he's probably doing push-ups in his basement right now, but that guy is one heck of a hockey coach, and his team really seems to be buying in for him.
I agree. I mean, I think he could be a guy who's like coach of the year candidate for the next 5 years, and I wouldn't be surprised. Rod Brindamore is just that kind of guy. Gio, you're hiding behind your microphone. Do you want to let us know what happened there?
Sorry.
I don't want to let everyone know what happened, but Patrick Laine sniped. So game over.
Why does everyone have to become like? Why do they try so hard against us? It doesn't make sense. Laine is not relevant until he plays Toronto.
He's on a
Montreal
heater
is
right
not
now.
relevant until they play Toronto. What?
I know.
Oh.
Laine, like Jessi said, Laine's having a good little stretch right now. But
Yeah.
Either way, we'll move on because let's try to forget about this. At least they got a point, Gio.
I hate that
So,
pity
now
win.
we're moving-
Oh, I can't stand it.
We're moving closer to the trade deadline, so everybody loves talking trade rumors. So what I want to know from you guys is not who's going to be the most active, because I feel like we kind of talked about playoff teams and non-playoff teams already, but who are, I put a plural in here if you want to add more than one, but who's the most desirable trade target from the division that somebody could pluck? Annie, go ahead.
All right, I do have 2 because I do think we got to do a forward and we got to do one defender. So for me, I'm doing Vancouver's JT Miller and then the Ducks Hampus Lindholm.
Yes.
Those 2. I mean, JT Miller obviously a little different than Hampus, but one more year on his contract at just a little over $5 million, but 53 points on the year, 18 goals. He's 28 years old. But Vancouver and Anaheim are kind of in similar spots where rebuild, a lot of young talent coming up, and you're looking at bigger picture here, who you want to offer these big money contracts to. And you got these guys that are approaching 30 that really aren't a part of that picture. JT Miller, both JT Miller and Hampus Lindholm in similar situations. And Hampus is a guy that has been not vocal, but it's been rumored that he wants to test free agency. So best thing to do for Anaheim would be to trade him, get something back for him. If they want to pursue him in free agency, they can. But Hampus is a guy, I mean, he's having an awesome year so far this year, but he's a guy that can add to any blue line. I know there's a lot of teams are shopping around their defenders come the deadline, but he's a guy that absolutely will be getting a lot of attention and a lot of pending offers. So those are my 2. Honorable mention to Rickard Rakell, but I had to put JT Miller above Rakell there.
That's fair. JT Miller is the good luck Chuck of the NHL. Both of his former teams are very good right now. So if they trade him, Vancouver is going to become a powerhouse within a couple of years.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. They got a lot of young talent there. I didn't think they were going to be as bad as they were last year. I thought they'd maybe make some noise, maybe kind of sneak into a wild card spot. But I mean, there's a lot of potential there. So we'll see. Not this year, they won't make a cup run, but next year, let's see what happens out in Vancouver.
For sure. Jessi, there are some absolutely horrid teams in the Central. Who are you thinking is the top dog?
I mean, Arizona can sell off everybody. Chicago could probably sell off everybody. It'd be silly if they weren't. I would say, I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury obviously has been heavy in the conversation, right? Give him a shot. You know, he does well in the playoffs. Plenty of teams need a goaltender like Marc-Andre Fleury in the playoffs. So I know, we'll start in the back end goaltending, Marc-Andre Fleury without question. Braden Holtby, his name has been floated around as well. I know out of Dallas, but I think Marc-Andre is probably the flower that you're going to pluck there. See what I did there? Hey. And then Joe Pavelski. Yes. Like that. I think
Bring
Joe
him to
Pavelski
Toronto.
for sure. No, bring him to Minnesota. He's in the final year of his contract. He's older, so it does make you wonder. But obviously, for a guy that might be, if a team's looking for a rental, like Minnesota should be looking for a rental center, he is perfect. He is absolutely the guy that you want to have. So those are my two, would be Flower and Pavelski. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm sure Dallas wants to keep Pavelski, and I'm sure those conversations have happened already. Klingberg is also an honorable mention for me too, out of Dallas. I think he is another guy that they're probably looking to move around. But yeah, you can pluck anybody you want off of. I heard Minnesota's talking Arizona about Phil Kessel. So
Yes.
maybe we'll
You can
get
have Phil Kessel all you want.
the homecoming hot dogs ready, whatever it is. But yeah, give me
home
Joe.
cooking is good. The home cooking is good. Gio, what do you think about some of the Atlantic potential trade targets?
I got 3: goalie, defenseman, forward.
Mhm.
Not necessarily. Well, one of them is very talked about. The other two, not really. I'll go with the obvious, Ben Sherratt. He's going to leave. They're somehow going to get a first-round pick. I have no idea why, but they will. I guess, like, the whistle's put in the pocket when it comes to the playoffs. That's when Ben Sherratt lights it up. He's a big guy. Defends his net. To give him credit, at least he stands up for his goalie, at least. But that's my defense. Forward, Connor Brown. I think he's an underrated forward who can fit anywhere in the lineup, can play both ends of the ice, has a hell lot of heart, so much heart. I love him.
Dynamic penalty killer too. Like I think he
Yeah.
led the league in penalty kill goals last year, if I'm not mistaken.
And he's a very consistent goal scorer. Like you play him on the third line, he won't do much. He'll play defense. You play him on the first line, top guys, no problem. He'll find a way. And that leads me to goalies. Hear me out. He plays on a terrible team, so his stats are very unpadded. They should be a lot better. And it's for a rental, especially Craig Anderson.
Oh, yeah.
I think that Craig Anderson has been in hard situations before. He's been to a conference final with a team that should not have been to the conference final in the Ottawa Senators. I think, honestly, like as a Leafs fan, I would take him as a backup right now, easily, no questions. I think Tampa would do the same. I think, honestly, any team like would want to use him as a backup goalie. And he's a calm guy, very respected, always works hard on his sleeve. I would say, yeah, those would be my 3.
Nice. Yeah, Craig Anderson, that veteran leadership could come in handy sometime.
That is gonna have to be it though for my
You're
end.
out?
I will have to head out.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thanks for hanging out, buddy. Appreciate you jumping in with us tonight.
Thank you all. If you guys can send all your TikToks to producer Clark, I would love to make a group chat so we can do this again. I would really love to chat longer because this is really fun. But
Yeah,
Absolutely.
let's do
anyways,
it.
We'll
take
do
care.
it.
I'm doing my
Thanks,
sign.
Gio.
Bye.
Appreciate you, buddy. All right. Gio's out. All right, we got the 4 square now.
Does this feel better for you? Do you just feel like a little
Well,
comfortable?
I get to show off my Adam Brooks jersey in the background. You see?
Well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. So
While
it comes up a lot.
we're here, I got to be honest. John, gun to my head, I would not have been able to say your actual real name. I just call you that Solar Bear fan.
I can take it. I'll take it.
See, I'm friends with John on Facebook, so I've learned his name through that.
Because I think on every social, you're that Solar Bear fan. You don't.
I just got rid of the name. I was like, that Solar Bear fan just sounds so much better than my actual name. So
That's on your driver's license now?
yeah, I even on my name tag at Disney, that Solar Bear fan,
You might as well promote your brand, right?
Wait,
Yeah.
it's on the name tag, that Solar Bear fan, and then where? Like Orlando, Florida?
No, it just says Pittsburgh, PA to really confuse people.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, see, I didn't even realize that was a thing. You put your hometowns on your name tags in Disney?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, there you go. For those who don't know, John works at Disney. Just so everyone's aware that we're not just like saying he's not like a cartoon.
He just hangs out there all the time.
Yeah,
I mean, I
works at
kind of
Disney.
do, to be honest. They're in Universal, so
Yeah.
You get your Figment popcorn bucket.
yeah, I had to go get that for my wife. I had to wait like an hour in line to get it, but I got it.
That's better than the 7 hours that
Yeah.
you could see on TikTok.
No, I'm not waiting 7 hours for that thing.
I was gonna say 2 of you are parents. Could you imagine taking your kids to Disney and then telling them to sit in a 7-hour line at Disney World?
not for a
for
ride.
7 minutes. Yeah, like, come on now.
Isn't there express passes or something for that? Like we got to
No, not for a popcorn bucket. You have to wait, sir.
Oh, fair. I think it's your turn, John. Speaking of you, Metro Division trade targets. I'm curious about this one because there's a couple teams, like you mentioned earlier, they're kind of in positions they might not have thought they would be. So what are you thinking?
So with all you guys talking, I actually picked a second one. I only had one, but I picked a second one by now, and that's Mackenzie Blackwood from the New Jersey Devils. He's not really done well this year for the Devils. And like we had mentioned, a couple teams are really looking for goaltending. Edmonton, I think I don't know if he's going to help that situation because I think the defense is absolutely god awful in Edmonton. But there are teams looking for a goalie right now. He only has a $2.8 million cap hit, which I think is very reasonable for a starting goalie in the NHL. And I think he just kind of needs a fresh start. And I think New Jersey, they've just, as bad as this stinks, and my friend Lippy's going to hate me for it, I think they need to tear it down and redo it again because this isn't working for them.
One of the most intriguing off seasons, the New Jersey Devils getting, Dougie Hamilton, Thomas Tatar. They got a couple other guys. Ryan Graves came over from Colorado. Jonathan Bernier. There's some. We thought they might be okay, and then, sorry,
New Jersey going to New Jersey.
Yeah,
those jerseys. That was the black curse.
The jerseys.
Yeah. Oh God, those things are terrible. And then the other one would be Claude Giroux, obviously. Claude Giroux, he's never really. I think he's had one shot at a cup.
One.
I
think that he's the guy that Philly absolutely loves, Claude Giroux, and they want him to get a chance at a cup, even if it would be not on a team that's not Philadelphia. I mean, I don't see him coming to like Pittsburgh or anything like that, like crazy, but I could see him definitely going to like a contending team. I know there's been rumors that people are saying he might be going to Florida, which if you add Claude Giroux to that lineup, I think it's almost game over at that point. But he'll be interesting to see. And then I've also heard, I just wanted to throw this out there, Phil Kessel might be coming back to Pittsburgh, which I really don't want him here. He can just stay in Arizona at the 5,000 seat arena.
For what? They have no picks or prospects left.
I know. I don't know what they like. People are like, they link things to Pittsburgh, and I'm like, what are we supposed to trade at this point?
Future considerations.
Future considerations. Yeah.
Player to be named later.
Yeah, the old PTNBL. There you go. All right, so we got some of those out of the way. That's good. There's going to be a lot of trade talk. A lot of people don't realize that, so last year it was kind of a quieter trade deadline, but it's because it was the flat cap and it was a weird year and all the trade rules. If you guys watched the All or Nothing series, I don't expect you guys to have, but if you did, the Maple Leafs All or Nothing series, the Nick Foligno thing was just literally the worst case scenario. Like, he came over, had to wait 14 days or whatever, 10 days. Then he got there, hurt his back, and he only played 5 games. So I think some teams were really weary last year, but this year, I think there's some creativity brewing, and I think some stuff's going to happen. So, especially with teams like the Islanders and the Flyers not doing as good as they thought, Nashville maybe needing to, supplement their team. Anaheim, who knows? Maybe Anaheim wants to add while also subtracting. Mm-hmm. Maybe they want to add guys with terms, and then all of a sudden, what happens there? So that'll be interesting. But let's get into it right now. I need you guys. It's prediction time. So we're going to go division by division again, and I want you to tell me who your division champion will be after the second round. So we're not talking Stanley Cup necessarily, but coming out of the division into the conference finals, round 3, who's going to represent the division? Annie, you're up.
This is tough.
It is tough.
It's tough. And I say this because I think it's between 2 teams at this point. Depending on what Edmonton does at the trade deadline, I think if they don't get a goaltender, they're dead in the water. They'll be out in the first round. But I think for me, it's between Calgary and Vegas. And just the way things are going with putting Mark Stone on LTIR and activating Jack Eichel, the playbook that Vegas is going to play. It's going to be the start of the playoffs. They're going to activate Mark Stone. They're going to be above the cap.
Lightning in a bottle, huh?
They're going to pull a Tampa. They're going to pull a Chicago The only reason why I quote Chicago is because that was the Ducks' best chance at winning the Stanley Cup was 2015. So I am still salty about that year, but it's fine. But just if history repeats itself, I think Vegas is going to be the team. But I'm not confident in Robin Leonard. I like him off the ice, but just as a playoff goalie, I mean, Flower was it. I still am scratching my head at moving at the decision to move him and pick Leonard over Fleury. So I'm going to go the young guys. I'm going to go the hot hand. I'm going to say the Calgary Flames.
Nice. And I can't remember who I was talking to, if it was Max or if it was somebody else, but if those two teams do end up playing each other in the second round, I think home ice advantage wins. So like the rest of this regular season could be massive because Calgary in the playoffs, that's a scary building.
Oh, absolutely.
It hasn't happened a whole lot, but when it does,
I mean, we'll get to see. I think the exciting thing too is, I mean, Jack Eichel, we'll get to see him in the playoffs. So, and listen, am I thrilled about sharing a division with the guy for another 5 years? No, not at all. But I mean, I don't think there's anybody in the league that's not rooting for this kid that wants him to recover from this surgery that he had. Obviously, he was stuck in an awful situation in Buffalo. But I'm excited to see what this kid can do. I'm excited to see how he does in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I got to go Calgary. I'm a big Tyler Toffoli fan, even though I spent years hating him as a Ducks fan. But I think that's a great addition for that Flames team. I think it's all or nothing at this point for them. I know they've got a lot of pending free agents in Johnny Gaudreau. I think Matthew Tkachuk is a restricted free agent, if I'm not mistaken. But I think they've got a lot of questions that need to be answered in the offseason. I think they go head on this year.
Yeah, and they might not be done adding yet either. Just a quick shout out here. D434 Dylan Fournier is checking in. Another TikTok creator, good friend of ours here. So he's checking in. This is a good question maybe for later. Who's the best player to go on LTIR only to return for the playoffs? Who's the best LTIR player? We can talk about that another episode. I think we're going clockwise now. So Jessi, you're up. Who's coming out of the Central? I mean, I feel like it might be an easy answer, but maybe it isn't.
Well, that's just it, right? The easy answer is Colorado. Everyone looks at Colorado and you say it every year, like, duh, it's got to be Colorado. But as we have seen in this division, it really could be anybody, right? You've seen St. Louis get Jake Allen hot all of a sudden, and they go on a run. I mean, it could be any of those teams that make it into the playoffs. This, again, I swear to God, is not biased. I am going to say the Minnesota Wild actually have a very legitimate shot to be that division rep if Billy Guerin makes a move during the trade, because there are still a few pieces that they really need. He knows he's going to be handcuffed next year with the Parise Suter buyout, so he has a little bit more money to play with. So I think he's absolutely seen that window closing and saying, hey, I want to go for it right now. I've got a lot of the pieces that we need, and this is a year that I think we legitimately have a chance. So I think he is going to be very active, not very active, slightly active come trade deadline. And if that happens, right now my key holes would be goaltending and the center position, which everybody has talked about with Minnesota for years. But right now the goaltending to me has been very shaky. Cam Talbot, they just lost to Ottawa this evening. Boo. And you got Kaapo Kähkönen as a backup. I think a Marc-Andre Fleury would fit very nicely to help Minnesota get there. Just putting that out there. I know Billy G's watching it, so if he could please link to me on that.
Out there.
Yeah.
Jessi, you would know more than a lot of people. How has how have the Wild played the Avalanche this year?
They've only seen them twice, I believe it is, and it's been tight. They've been very close games, very good games. I mean, truly, I think Minnesota would rather have them than like a St. Louis or a Winnipeg, right? Winnipeg just beat up on them a couple weeks ago now. But St. Louis seems to always have Minnesota's number. So I think that would be a tough one for them. Colorado, I think they have this surge of confidence to go in and beat them. And Nashville, they haven't seen too much except the one time thus far too. So, again, Colorado is the easy answer, but I think if Minnesota makes some moves, they really do have a very legit shot. But again, it could be anyone. This division can be so wonky sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, as it stands right now, they're playing St. Louis round one. So not easy considering how well St. Louis has played this year. John, who's coming out of the Metro?
So I've got it down to 3 teams. I don't really think Washington's got it this year. So I'm going to go with the Hurricanes, the Rangers, and the Penguins. I don't think the Penguins have the grit or the type of players to, wear a team down over a 7-game series as much as I love them. So I think they're out. And then it leads me down to the Rangers and the Hurricanes. And I don't know what it is about Igor Shesterkin and some of the moves that the Rangers made in the offseason, but I really feel like they're really going to come out of this division and play really well. Now, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I'm absolutely a fan of Ryan Reeves and what he brings to a team. I was really upset when Pittsburgh, didn't even really give him a shot when he was here. But I think he's a great team locker room guy, and he adds a lot more than what people realize. Than he's just a goon and everything else like that. But I think if, like I said earlier, if Shesterkin can get on a run, Panarin just takes off, this Rangers team is going to be hard to beat. I mean, they've got guys. I know Jacob Trouba and Ava, her favorite player in the world.
Ava just started watching because you said his name.
Shout out Ava.
But I mean, if he can, just get it back to where he was with Winnipeg, I mean, this team is going to be dangerous. They've got everything they need to make a run, and I think this might be the first year that they're going to take a shot at it.
There you go. I like it. I like it a lot. Shaking it up. I have to represent Gio's answer here. So outside of saying Toronto, I will say I think it's going to be Florida coming out of the Atlantic Division, especially if they do something crazy stupid at the trade deadline, because I feel like they might. Like he said earlier, if they get Claude Giroux or something like that, like this could be game over for a lot of teams. And I know Tampa is still the champion until they're not, but losing the guys they lost, I feel like they were the cogs that helped them win. The Gourds and the Colemans and the Goudreaus, those guys, I think, propelled them to a level that nobody else could match. So without them, I know they have replacements, Ross Colton and Matthew Joseph, but those aren't the same guys. Corey Perry, he's trying. Corey Perry, sorry, Annie. Sorry.
I was waiting.
He's trying, but I still feel
wait till the playoffs. That's where he comes alive.
Yeah, before he knees somebody in the back of the head, right?
Oh, stop it.
I can't say anything. My first time watching Corey Perry took out Spencer Knight in a preseason game.
There you go. No, I know. He didn't do that on purpose.
Our trophy winner, Corey Perry, to you. Thank you.
That's true. You're welcome.
Longest walk in a Winter Classic to the locker room, Corey Perry to me.
He's got a lot of
awards
of
that on my computer.
He's got a lot of awards, but either way, I do think Florida just is so much firepower, and they're just going to get better. So I'll say Florida for the Atlantic, and try not to be biased, but we'll see. We'll see. It should be a fun finish. Anyways, that kind of does wrap up the questions I had. I guess we'll have a little bit of an open session here. Does anyone else want to bring up anything else before we end it tonight?
Hey, John.
Yes.
This coming off season, you got Chris Letang and Evgeny Malkin pending free agents. Do they re-sign in Pittsburgh?
Malkin, yes. Letang, no. Letang's going to sign a mega deal in Montreal.
Oh, yeah, because Kent Hughes is what Kent Hughes has some sort of connection to him, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's from Montreal, and I've heard nothing but rumors that he's going to sign a mega deal up there. And Malkin's already said he would take a team-friendly deal. So I think they're going to shoot for Malkin more than they will Letang. It sucks, but I mean, we have Pierre-Olivier Joseph in the AHL, who's a great player, and he's never really gotten his chance. I think he could be the guy that could fill in for the Chris Letang spot.
They'll probably trade him at the trade deadline.
Please, God, no. Please, God, no.
He's like one prospect that they have. They'll trade
the only one.
Samuel Pouillon, I think, is our best prospect, and I never hear anything about him.
Yeah, no. Good luck. Good luck with that.
I appreciate that, Annie. Thank you.
Hey, I was curious. I was thinking about it. So,
now, Jessi, I think I've talked to you about this before, but I want to bring it up. Is Matt Zuccarello the most underrated forward in the NHL?
I mean, I think so, right? And it's tough. You're playing with Kirill Kaprizov, but their chemistry is so freaking uncanny. It's awesome to watch, right? And they're passing back and forth, and it's just they know where each other is. I think Matt Zuccarello definitely is considered an underrated forward again, just because he plays with Kirill, and everyone focuses on Kirill. But that's exactly why it helps, right? Matt knows where to go. Ryan Hartman will position himself right in front of the net. Matt will go around, make the play. I mean, it's fantastic hockey to watch. So I would say that. I know New York had their big love and affinity for him, and Minnesota's finally now getting to see that. He's not as media friendly here yet, so we're working on that, but hopefully someday.
You've had to deal with the New York media. I'm sure it takes.
But I hear
Takes
like
a
they
little
were
bit
all
of
like,
time.
"Oh, he's so great. He laughs with us," and we're like, "What? Like he doesn't do any of that with us at all." Like, and we're very nice. We are Minnesota nice, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen. Like, I don't know what the deal is.
The nicest state, isn't that what they
Yeah.
call it?
Yeah.
So Annie, Trevor Zegras, is he the Calder Trophy winner this year, or what's going on there?
So what's going on with the Calder? For me, I've been very weary about he was my Calder pick from the beginning of the year, slightly biased, of course, but just seeing the impact he had. I mean, he actually made his NHL debut a year ago today, fun fact. But you have to give credit to
the same day as David Ayers. What a terrible day to make your NHL debut.
Literally February 22nd, one of those days. But you got to give credit to Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond. They have absolutely had outstanding years, and they're certainly in the Calder conversation. I think if Trevor continues to have the year that he has, he's building a potential Calder absolutely a Calder candidate.
Oh, he's right there.
Right. And I think he's causing a lot of distress to Detroit Red Wings fans, which we're on the TikTok.
Anton Lundell doesn't count, John.
Yes, he does.
He does count.
counts.
I would say him and Matt Boldy is absolutely crushing it lately. Like he's got something like 16 points in 12 games.
Like, teacher, I would like
just so you know, there's other people as well.
Michael
that's the thing, is so many Red Wings fans are getting upset that Zegras is getting all this attention. And then, of course, after the alley-oop assist happens, he kind of skyrockets in the Calder. The NHL.com does these like Calder trophy trackers, which they're not voting on the Calder trophy winners. I think people forget that. But of course, Zegras rises to the top, and the Red Wings fans get out their torches and pitchforks and start rioting, saying like, "Oh, Anaheim's getting all this attention." And it's like, I know an Original Six franchise is not complaining about an expansion team that's less than 30 years old getting remotely any media attention. Like, simmer down. So, I mean, it's a great, honestly, I'm excited for the Red Wings talent and the future that they have. There's a lot of, I think the NHL is more exciting when the Red Wings are good. I think Stevie Y has built an absolute juggernaut out there. So regardless who wins the Calder, it is what I mean. I know the players care about it, but at the end of the day, whoever wins it, I mean, Zegras is still going to come out and do his thing. He's going to be, I think he's the new face of the league just because he shows so much personality and just a kid that enjoys and loves the game of hockey, which I'm sure as you guys all know, hockey players, like getting them.
It's ruining
Connor McDavid, this like talented player, unreal, but talking to him is like talking to like one dry sock, one piece of unbuttered toast. Like, no personality whatsoever.
Did you guys see they had him do like the weekend bit? Like,
yes.
Like the SNL The Weekend, and it was like, someone please get this man out of Edmonton. Like, this is a cry for help. Like, he just needs to, the poor guy. Like,
he has a really nice house, though. They did an episode of like Cribs with him.
Isn't it all white?
That house terrifies me. That house makes me so uncomfortable.
I was watching it at work, and I started laughing so hard because they were showing off this office of his, and it has this like $4,000 computer on the thing, not plugged in. Like, he doesn't use his computer, guys. It's just there for appearance. It was heated
drive. I think they had like the heated driveway, and he's like this beautiful view, and it's all like dead grass out in Edmonton. I was like, the view of what?
Yeah. Well, the city. You could see the city in the distance.
So pretty.
way out there. If you grab some binoculars, you can.
More or less. I still remember they put out some sort of like recruiting video for Edmonton about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And they shot all these mountains. What was it for? They showed off all the mountains. And it's like, guys, that's Calgary. That's not Edmonton. Edmonton doesn't have mountains. Calgary
video. What is this?
I can't remember what
sorority?
It was for
Pledge Edmonton.
I know what it was for. It was for the bubble, when they had the bubble in Edmonton.
God.
They were like, look how great Edmonton is. And it's like they showed off Banff and stuff. And like,
yeah, then the arena like had a pipe explode like 2 days before the bubble started.
Yeah. Anyways, we can go on and on about Edmonton. But,
Edmonton, not that bad.
Well, I think we'll call it a night here, everybody. I'm going to give you guys a chance to talk about yourselves for a sec. And we'll just go in the same order we went before. Annie, I guess you're up. Promote yourself.
promote myself. Oh boy. Where do I even begin?
Well,
I go by the SweetAnnieOD is my username. I am a content creator, podcaster, host, analyst, all those words. You can follow me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram at SweetAnnieOD. I post about sports, music, mainly classic rock, and a good shot of whiskey every now and then. That is basically my MO there. But my podcast is OD on Sports, available on all streaming platforms. And that's basically me.
And the Dodgers.
Yeah. I love.
Thanks for bringing that up. I really appreciate it. The pain of Game 6 still lives in me. So
fair enough, John. Sorry, buddy.
Hey, how about that? Hey, how about the Freddie Freeman news, possibly? Eh?
Yeah, coming to the Blue Jays. That's
he's coming to the Rays. I mean, we need a first baseman.
Well, I can tell you one team he's not going to: the Minnesota Twins. Jessi,
definitely not coming to the Minnesota Twins, unless he's hurt like constantly. Then sure he'll come to the Twins.
With that Canadian first baseman, maybe that happens.
You know what? Shout out to Josh Donaldson and telling it how it is with All-Star games. But
y'all got Kenta Maeda. Y'all take care of him now.
I still miss Josh Donaldson on a daily basis. But Jessi, tell us about yourself. Where can everybody find your stuff?
Well, I'm going to work on coming up with a really cool nickname so I can join all of you guys on cool nickname TikTok, because that seems really fun. Yes. But right now you can find me on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram at Jessi, JESSI_Pierce, PIERCE. I cover all Minnesota Wild things for NHL.com. So see the write-ups on those on NHL.com, plus feature stories. And I host a podcast, Bar Down Beauties. New episodes release every Monday. We can get guys like Bruce Boudreau on there, Marco Rossi. We've got Matt Cook coming up. So a little Pittsburgh Penguins love. He's coming up next week. So that's about it. Come hang. Have fun. Yeah.
You could I was going to say, like, all I did was put producer in front of my first name. Like, you could just put like Beauty Pierce in front of you. Like,
Beauty I like Pierce, it.
Beauty Pierce. I like that.
That's a little pretentious, right? People be like, look at this girl. She thinks she's super hot shit.
No. Hey, BDE. That's what we're rocking into 2020 with, baby.
True. I like it.
I hear you. John, where can everybody find you at Disney?
They can find me driving a bus.
Or waiting in line for popcorn.
Go for it. All the time, go for it. But I am ThatSolarBearFan on everything that I would let me be that. TikTok and Twitter. I'm not giving up my Facebook. Sorry, people. But I'm a residential, your Penguin fan. I decided to pick the Panthers as my Florida team. So I obviously post a little bit about them. And also, like, my main content is ECHL hockey content, which most people, just swipe right by, but that's okay. I enjoy it.
I love it because
Sean Avery's going to be a Solar Bear. I'm calling it now.
Coming to the Orlando Solar Bears. I don't know if you've shown your jersey off yet a whole lot.
Hold on.
This is the treasures. Yes.
Oh my god.
sent directly from AJ Galante himself.
Yeah. How'd you get a jersey? He said he was on our podcast and he sent us a t-shirt and a sweatshirt, which are equally as cool. But
he sent me a t-shirt and a sweatshirt, but I literally demanded my wife for Christmas to get me this jersey.
Nice.
As soon as it came out, I was like, here's the link. Go buy this.
I got you the popcorn bucket. You get me the jersey.
Yeah.
That works.
Now, I will just say a little insider secret. So I produce a sports talk show on a daily basis. Jessi, you've been on it.
Yeah.
But the Rod Peterson show, we've had AJ on twice now.
Oh.
And he texted me after and he said, give me your jersey sizes. And I'm like, yes. I'm in.
See those new kicks he's coming out with too?
Oh my gosh. And he's coming out with a thing called Ice Wars, which is a whole, John knows about it, a whole league for enforcers. So maybe Sean Avery's actually just trying out for the Ice Wars.
Hey, as long as he plays against this weekend and I can go meet Sean Avery, I'm down for it because they have a fan event coming on Sunday and that's the next home game. So
I'm surprised.
Speaking of Sean Avery, how about his Instagram presence? Do you guys follow him on Instagram?
I've heard about it.
I love, for one, proud dad I'm a big Nash Avery fan. I love all the Nash content, but his old stuff where yelling at people in the bike lane in New York, beautiful.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like, John, with his facial care routine, I'm really surprised he wants to get back into hockey. He does like 3 hours of facial care every night.
I'll be sending you guys all the videos from the games.
Thank you. His
You're
face
welcome.
is tight and, like Annie said, glistening. It's looking good.
It is.
Maybe we'll wrap it up there. But anyways, everybody, thanks you guys for hanging out with me tonight. Filling in for Max. I'm sure that he loves some of the Nashville Predators takes throughout the night. But we will call it a night here and see you guys again. We'll do this again sometime, I hope. And
Absolutely.
we'll see all of you watching next week right here, same time, same place on the SquadCast. And thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks, everybody.